I steered the rental car down the long, palm-lined driveway of my parents' house in Paradise Valley. A homemade cheesecake, one I had spent the entire morning perfecting, sat on the passenger seat. I'm a financial analyst in New York, but I'd taken the flight back just for this. All I wanted was a single, uncomplicated New Year's dinner. I stepped out onto the sprawling back patio. The built-in grill was sending plumes of smoke into the desert air. My brother, Leo, glanced up from the ribeye steaks he was arranging on the grate. He didn't offer a smile. "This year's just for the immediate family," he stated. His tone was so casual, so offhand, you'd think he was commenting on the weather. I stood there, frozen. I tried to brush past the comment and searched for my mother, Helen. She was by the enormous patio table, laying out expensive-looking plates. She met my eyes for a fraction of a second. Then, with a calm that was more chilling than any shout, she walked to the grill, used a pair of tongs to pick up my steak, and scraped it unceremoniously into the dog's bowl. "No one was expecting you, Maya," she said, her voice completely flat. Max, the family's prize Labrador, started enthusiastically devouring my dinner. The humiliation was a hot, sharp burn in my chest. I looked down at the perfect cheesecake in my hands. I gently set it down on a vacant spot on the table, turned on my heel, and walked back to my rental car without uttering a single word. That night, I was sitting in the gloom of a cheap motel room. I opened my banking app, my thumb moving with a strange, new steadiness. They took every single thing for granted, so I was about to freeze every joint account, every last dollar. Before we get into the rest of the story, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from around the globe. I didn't speed. I didn't shed a tear. I just drove. The cheesecake was still sitting on their patio table, my homemade New York cheesecake. I found myself wondering if they would bother to eat it or if they'd toss it in the trash along with my steak. I landed on the idea that they'd probably eat it. They were meticulous about never wasting food, only people. The highway was a dark ribbon stretching through the night. The radio was silent. I drove past the opulent, perfectly manicured estates of Paradise Valley, past the floodlit golf courses and five-star resorts, until the houses grew smaller and the streetlights became cheaper, spaced further and further apart. Then I saw a sign: motel, vacancy. The O was buzzing and flickering erratically. It felt right. I pulled the car into the mostly empty parking lot. A man behind a thick pane of plexiglass rented me a room. I paid him in cash. No paper trail. It's a professional habit. As a financial analyst, I'm always thinking about the paper trail. The room had a lingering scent of stale cigarette smoke and industrial-strength bleach. The carpet felt thin and worn beneath my shoes. The window air conditioning unit hummed a loud, monotonous tune, then gave a violent rattle, then settled back into its hum. I turned the deadbolt. I slid the tarnished metal chain into its lock. I sat on the edge of the bed. The comforter was stiff, starched into submission. I was utterly, completely by myself. And for the first time since I'd landed in Arizona, I could actually draw a full breath. I was supposed to be at a party right now. I was supposed to be holding a glass of champagne, laughing with my family, counting down the seconds to midnight. Instead, I was in a rundown motel, the only sound the low rumble of a semi-truck idling in the parking lot. My mind drifted to my apartment in New York. It was small, but it was immaculate, and it was mine. I had worked so incredibly hard for it. I pulled 60-hour weeks. I meticulously saved my money. I paid every bill the day it arrived. I was responsible. I was always the responsible one. That's what my mother, Helen, always said. Maya is the responsible one. She can handle it. And handling it, I had come to learn, was just a euphemism for paying for things. I pulled out my phone. My hands were surprisingly steady. The anger hadn't vanished. It had just cooled, solidified into something else. I felt a cold, hard clarity settling over me. The initial burn of humiliation had been cauterized, and this was what remained. I opened my banking app. We had a single joint account. It was an old one, opened back when I first went to college. I had tried to close it down years ago, but my mother had insisted we keep it active. For emergencies, she'd argued. What if we need to send you money for something? They had never, not once, sent me money. I was the one who sent them money. My name was the primary on the account. My bi-weekly paycheck was deposited directly into it. From there, I would transfer my personal living expenses, rent, utilities, groceries, to my private New York account. I left the substantial remainder in the joint account. I left it for the family, for the house, for their bills, for their lives. I tapped on the transaction history. I started to scroll and scroll and scroll. December 30th, $250. The Oasis Club. Leo's country club membership. I knew he played golf, of course. I just didn't realize that I was the one paying for it. I could picture him perfectly, swinging a brand new club, laughing with his finance bro friends, all on my dime. December 29th, $950. The sommelier's choice. The charge was initialed H.E. Helen Evans, my mother. She was always boasting about her curated wine collection, calling it her little investment. I had always just assumed my father paid for it. But my father, Robert, was a passive man. He always followed my mother's lead in everything. I was realizing now he just let me pay for her investment too. December 28th, $700. Boutique butcher delivery. The memo line on this one was short and to the point. Max's Food, Maximum, the dog. They were spending $700 on boutique, grass-fed meat for the dog, the very same dog my mother had just fed my steak to. A laugh bubbled up from my chest, but it was a dry, awful, humorless sound. They were feeding the dog better than they were willing to feed their own daughter, and I was footing the bill. My annual work bonus had been deposited into that account just last week, $15,000. I had worked through the night for 3 solid weeks to earn that bonus. I was going to use it to finally pay off the last of my student loans. I checked the current balance. It was almost completely gone. The country club, the vintage wine, the gourmet dog meat, Christmas presents I hadn't received, new furniture for the patio I wasn't welcome on. Each charge was a small, precise cut, 1,000 little cuts. This year's just for the immediate family. It all made a horrifying kind of sense now. I wasn't immediate family. I was a resource. I was an ATM that had just been informed it was no longer welcome at the party. My phone buzzed, the vibration startling me in the quiet room. The screen glowed. Uncle Ben. Uncle Ben was my mother's brother, the family's designated black sheep. He lived in a tiny town a couple of hours outside the city, where he ran a small engine repair shop. He was a quiet, unassuming man who fixed things. He never came to the big family parties. My mother always referred to him as a disappointment. He was also the only person in the entire family who ever remembered to send me a birthday card. It was always the same, a simple card with a crisp $20 bill tucked inside and the same handwritten words, "Don't let them grind you down, kid." I answered the call. Maya? His voice was low and gravelly. "Hey, Uncle Ben," I said, my own voice barely a whisper. "You all right? I heard you took off. You heard." The speed of the gossip surprised me. "Called your dad just to wish him a happy new year. He put your mother on the phone. She was in the middle of complaining." "What did she say?" "She said you showed up uninvited and caused a scene." I squeezed my eyes shut. I didn't say anything. I had brought a cheesecake. "I know," he said, as if reading my mind. "I know you, Maya. Your mother? She was mostly furious that you put the cheesecake down on her new patio table without a trivet." "The table? That's what she was worried about." "The table," he confirmed, "not you." A stupid, childish question escaped my lips. Are they mad at me?" Ben was quiet for a long moment. "No, kid. That's the whole problem. I asked where you'd gone. Your mother just said, 'Oh, she drove off in a huff. She'll be back.' And then Leo turned the music up. They didn't even notice you left. The words should have shattered me. They should have been the final blow to my already broken heart. But they didn't hurt. In a strange way, they set me free. I had spent my entire life waiting for them to finally see me, to acknowledge me, and they never would. I was completely invisible to them, right up until a bill came due. "Maya?" Ben asked. "You still with me?" I stood up from the bed. I peered through the small gap in the curtains at the flickering motel sign. "Yes, Uncle Ben, I'm here. So what are you going to do?" I glanced down at my phone, still open to the banking app. I saw the $250 for golf and the $950 for wine. "It's good," I said. "What's good?" "It's good they didn't notice. It makes this so much easier." "What's easier, Maya?" Uncle Ben's voice had become cautious. He knew my family, and he knew me. "They think I'll be back," I said. I was pacing the tiny room now. 3 steps to the wall, turn. 3 steps back to the cheap fake wood dresser. "My mother is convinced I'm going to come back tomorrow and apologize." "That's usually your move," he said. It wasn't an accusation, just a statement of historical fact. "Yes," I said. "It is. I always come back. I always say I'm sorry. I always smooth everything over. And I always pay the bill. You don't have to, you know? I know." I stopped pacing. I saw my reflection in the dark screen of the bolted-down television. I looked exhausted. I looked like a 30-year-old woman, a successful financial analyst who had allowed her family to treat her like a misbehaving child for far too long. "They see you as an account number, Maya," Ben said. His voice was gentle, but his words were like stones. "Just an account number, not a person." "They fed my dinner to the dog," I whispered. "What?" "I brought a cheesecake. Leo told me I wasn't real family, and my mother..." She scraped my steak into Max's bowl, right there in front of me. There was a long, heavy silence on the other end of the line. I heard him take a deep, slow breath. "Well," he finally said, "that settles it then." "What does?" "You do what you have to do, kid. You don't owe them a thing. You've paid your dues. Hell, you've paid all of their dues, too." "I'm scared," I admitted in a small voice. "They're the ones who should be scared. You've had all the power this whole time, Maya. You just never got around to using it. Good night. Call me if you need anything." He hung up. He was right. I was a financial analyst. I understood power dynamics. Power was just money. It was just numbers on a screen. But it was my money. My numbers. I sat back down on the bed. I opened the banking app again. My thumb was rock steady this time. I navigated to the joint account first, the one with the long, damning transaction history. I saw a simple button. Manage cards. I tapped it. I saw my name, Maya Evans, and below it, a list. Leo Evans, Helen Evans, Robert Evans. All of them had a credit card linked directly to my account, my money. I tapped on Helen Evans. A digital image of her credit card appeared on the screen, and beneath it, a bright red toggle switch. Freeze card. I thought about the $950 wine. I thought about her flat voice saying, "No one was expecting you." I slid my thumb across the screen. The toggle snapped to red. Card frozen. A notification popped up. Helen Evans' card is now inactive and cannot be used for any new transactions or automatic payments. A small portion of the weight on my shoulders seemed to lift. Next, Robert Evans. My father. The man who just stood there. The man who watched. The man who never, not once in my entire life, had stood up for me. Freeze card. Robert Evans's card is now inactive. Next, Leo Evans. This year's just for the immediate family. I stared at his name. He was the one whose words had cut the deepest. He was my brother. He was supposed to be my ally. I thought about the $250 for his country club. I didn't just slide the toggle. I pressed it hard. Freeze card. Leo Evans' card is now inactive. I took a deep, shuddering breath. That was defense. Now it was time for asset protection. I went back to the app's main menu. I saw another option: lock account. I tapped it. A confirmation screen appeared. Are you sure? Locking this account will prevent all withdrawals, transfers, and payments. This includes all scheduled bills. I thought about their scheduled bills: the massive mortgage on their oversized house, the lease payments for their 2 luxury SUVs, the pool cleaning service, the landscaper, the wine of the month club, the boutique dog food subscription, all of it. Every last cent of their lifestyle was linked to this account. All of it was paid for by me. I pressed the button. Confirm account lock. I confirmed. The screen refreshed. A large, aggressive red banner now appeared at the top of the account page. Account restricted. I had done it. I had cut them off. I leaned back against the stiff comforter. The silence in the room felt absolute. The air conditioner had finally rattled itself into a quiet stupor. For the first time in my entire adult life, no one was spending my money but me. I imagined what would happen in the morning. My mother at the organic grocery store, her card declined. The public shame. My brother at the country club pro shop, his card declined. The explosive rage. My father at the gas station, his card declined. The quiet confusion. They would be incandescent with fury. They would call me. They would scream. They would threaten. They would tell me I was a terrible daughter. They would tell me I was selfish. I looked at my phone. I could already feel the phantom vibrations of their incoming tidal wave of anger. I put the phone on Do Not Disturb. I turned off the ringer. I lay down on the bed, still fully clothed. I didn't even bother to pull back the covers. For the first time, the silence in my life felt like justice. It felt like peace. I was asleep in 10 minutes. I woke to gray, washed-out light filtering through the thin, stained curtains. For a disorienting moment, I was adrift, unsure of where I was. Then my eyes focused on the painted cinder block walls and the television bolted to a stand, and in a rush, everything came back. The party, the steak, the motel, the app. I sat bolt upright. My phone was on the nightstand. I had 14 missed calls, 7 from Mom, 4 from Leo, 3 from Dad. I also had 22 text messages. I read the first one from my mother. Card declined. Fix it. Now. The old Maya would have felt sick with anxiety. The old Maya would have been frantically dialing her phone, apologizing profusely. Oh my God, it must be a bank error. I'm so sorry. I'll fix it right away. I just deleted the message. I deleted all of them without reading the rest. The freeze was a good defensive move, but I knew it wasn't enough. The joint account was one thing, but then a much colder memory surfaced. Leo's startup. About 6 months ago, Leo had come to me with a request. Maya, I need a favor. My investors are about to do a Series A funding round. I need a clean account to route the money through, just to hold it for 72 hours while the lawyers do their thing. It's just boring legal paperwork. Can I use your name on a new business account? It's nothing. I had said yes. Of course I did. I was the responsible one. I had excellent credit. He was my brother. I thought I was doing him a favor. He had me sign a stack of papers. I barely skimmed them. I was in the middle of a huge project at work. I trusted him. A wave of nausea washed over me. That wasn't a favor. That was something else entirely. I needed help. I needed someone who was much smarter about this kind of thing than I was. I called the only person I knew I could trust. Davis Secure Solutions. This is Chloe. A bright, cheerful voice answered. Chloe, it's me. Maya? It's 6 a.m. in New York. Are you in jail? Do I need to call a bail bondsman? Not yet, I said, but I think I might be in a really big mess. Chloe Davis was my best friend from business school. She was a forensic accountant. She worked for a boutique firm that high net worth clients hired when they suspected fraud. She was, in her own words, a professional bloodhound. I told her everything. The party, the dog, the motel, the frozen accounts. She listened quietly. When I finally finished, she just said, "Good. It's about damn time. They're parasites, Maya. You finally decided to burn the parasites off." "But there's more," I said. I explained about Leo's startup, the clean account, the money he had routed through me. Chloe's tone shifted instantly. The cheerfulness vanished, replaced by ice. "Maya, listen to me very carefully. He didn't just route money. He used you. He used your clean financial history and your credit score as a legal shield. If his business goes south, if he defaults on anything, who do you think the investors are coming after? Him? Or the responsible person whose name is on every single legal document? My blood ran cold. Me? You. He's not just your asshole brother, Maya. He committed fraud. He forged your signature on some of this, didn't he?" I think so. On some of it." "Okay," Chloe said, her voice now sharp and commanding. "We are officially at war. Open your laptop. We are going to fix this. Right now." I sat at the small, wobbly motel desk, plugged in my laptop, and connected to the painfully slow motel Wi-Fi. "I'm in," I said. "Good. I'm sending you a secure link. Click on it. It'll start a screen share. I'll be your co-pilot." I clicked. My screen flickered, and then Chloe's mouse cursor appeared, a little arrow moving alongside mine. "Okay, log into that business account," she commanded. I logged in. The balance was staggering, $150,000. "That's the investor money," I said. "It's for his company." "No, Maya," Chloe said, her voice sharp as glass. "Look at the account name. Evans Innovations, LLC. Now look at the primary owner. Who is it?" I looked. "Maya Evans. And the secondary owner? Leo Evans. But you are the primary. That means legally it is your money. Legally it is your company. He didn't make you a partner. He made you a shell corporation." I couldn't speak. He hadn't just used my name. He had made me the sole owner of all his liability. "Chloe, what do I do? You're a financial analyst, Maya. What do you do with an asset that is a 100% liability?" "You liquidate it," I whispered, "and you protect yourself. We are going to move that money, and then we are going to inform the investors exactly what has transpired. But that will destroy his company." "His company?" "Maya, his company is you. He built his entire business on top of your good name. You weren't a co-founder. You were just the foundation he was planning to abandon the second the building started to crumble." Her words struck me like a physical blow. "Okay," I said, my voice suddenly steady. "Tell me what to do." For the next hour, Chloe was a 5-star general commanding a covert operation. "Open a new high-yield savings account at a completely different bank, a bank your family has never even heard of." "Good. Now, initiate a full transfer, all $150,000. In the memo line, write owner's withdrawal." I clicked transfer. I watched the balance in Evans Innovations drop to zero and the $150,000 appear in my new private secure account. "Done," I said. "Good. Step 1 complete. The asset is secure. Now, for step 2, the investors. Leo sent you the investor prospectus, right?" "Yes, it's in my email. Pull it up. I need the name of the lead investor." I found the name, a major venture capital firm. "Perfect," Chloe said. "Now we draft an email," Chloe dictated. I typed. It was simple, direct, and stripped of all emotion. It was all facts. 2. Investor firm, subject urgent notice. Evans Innovations, LLC, to whom it may concern. My name is Maya Evans. I am the primary and sole signatory on the account associated with Evans Innovations, LLC. Please be advised that my name and credit were used by Leo Evans without my full knowledge or consent, under the false pretense of a family favor. I did not consent to the legal or financial liabilities of this venture. I have reclaimed all personal assets from the account. All pending transfers are void. I am dissolving my association with this LLC, effective immediately. Any future correspondence regarding Evans Innovations should be directed to Leo Evans. I consider this matter closed. Sincerely, Maya Evans. I stared at the words on the screen. Chloe, this is a nuclear bomb. Yes, she said, it is. He built the bomb. You're just walking away before it detonates and takes you with it. My hand was trembling as I moved the cursor. Send it, Maya. I hit send. We sat in shared silence for a minute, the only sound my own breathing and the distant hum of the motel's ice machine. My laptop pinged with a new email. It's from the investor, I said, my heart pounding in my ears. Read it, Chloe said. I opened it. It was 2 short sentences. Ms. Evans, thank you for your clarification. We are terminating our Series A funding offer effective immediately. All contracts with Evans Innovations are hereby nullified. It was over. In the space of a single morning, I had frozen my family's finances and single-handedly dissolved my brother's company. His entire empire, gone before the sun was even fully up. How do you feel? Chloe asked. I thought about it for a long time. I wasn't happy. I wasn't sad. I feel, I said slowly, like my portfolio is finally balanced. That's my girl, Chloe said. You just pulled the rug out from under the man who built his entire world on top of you. Now go get some coffee. I have a feeling the real storm is just about to hit. Chloe was right. The storm was coming. I had just enough time for one quick shower and a cup of the motel's terrible burnt coffee. I was just beginning to feel human again when I heard it. A car door slamming in the parking lot. It slammed with a specific angry force I recognized instantly, then shouting. Which one is it? The clerk said 108 factorial. That was Leo's voice. Maya, that was my mother. I froze. How did they find me? It didn't matter. They were here. My heart felt like it was trying to beat its way out of my chest. My first primal instinct was to hide, to slide under the cheap bed, to pretend I wasn't there. That's what I always did. I am a 30-year-old woman, I told myself, my own voice a silent mantra. I am a financial analyst. I am not a child. I walked to the door. I didn't open it. I looked through the fisheye peephole. It was a horrible, distorted view. My mother's face was pressed close to the door, her hair a mess. She was still wearing her clothes from the New Year's party, her makeup smeared. She looked old and frantic. Leo was right behind her, his face a blotchy, furious red. He looked like he was vibrating with sheer rage. Then the pounding started. Wham! 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 It wasn't a knock. It was a fist, Leo's fist. Maya, open this door. Open this damn door right now, he screamed. I stepped back from the peephole, my hands shaking. What did you do? My mother shrieked, her voice high and thin. What did you do? My card was declined. At the gas station. She wasn't worried. She wasn't asking if I was okay. She was furious that I had embarrassed her. Mid-pump, she yelled, her voice cracking. It just stopped, mid-pump. Do you have any idea how that feels? Everyone was looking at me. I said nothing. I just stood there, my back pressed against the cool, painted cinder block wall. The country club, Maya, Leo took over. They cut up my card. In the pro shop. You think that's funny? You ruined me. The investors called. He was just screaming now, a raw animal sound of pure fury. They pulled everything. The Series A, it's all gone. You stole it. You stole my money, you psycho. My money, he'd said. It was never his. It was always mine. You turn it back on, my mother commanded. Whatever you did, you fix it. Right now. This is not how we raised you. She was picking up steam now, her voice dripping with venom. You're 30 years old. 30. You have no husband, you have no kids. You just have your little job. What do you need all that money for? Money is for family. This year's just for the immediate family. There it was, the truth, laid bare. I wasn't family. I was the money. And I wasn't real family because I didn't have a husband or a child. I was just Maya. And that would never be enough for them. I felt the last lingering bit of fear fall away from me. It was replaced by a deep, profound, and icy calm. I finally understood. This wasn't my fault, it was theirs. I walked past the door and picked up the heavy plastic motel phone. I dialed 0 for the front desk. A bored-sounding voice answered. "Hello," I said. My voice was calm. It was steady. I was almost surprised at how steady it was. "My name is Maya Evans. I am in room 108. The pounding on the door stopped. They could hear me talking. "Yes, ma'am," the clerk said. "There are 2 people outside my door, a man and a woman. They are not my guests. They are screaming and hitting my door. They are harassing me. I need you to send security." I heard a sharp gasp from the other side of the door. "Maya, no," my mother whispered. "Don't you dare." "Ma'am," the clerk said. "Please send security," I repeated, my voice firm. "They are trespassing and I am afraid for my safety. Right away, Miss Evans." I hung up the phone. I walked back to the door and looked through the peephole again. My mother's face was white. The rage was gone, replaced by pure shock, disbelief. She could not believe I had done this. Leo was backing away, his hands held up as if in surrender. He knew what this looked like. I heard heavy footsteps approaching down the hallway. A large man in a security polo shirt appeared. "Ma'am, sir?" "You need to step away from the door," the guard said in a tired but firm voice. "That's our daughter in there." My mother tried, her voice pleading. "This is just a family matter. She's a registered guest," the guard said, clearly unimpressed. "And you are harassing her. You need to leave the property. Now." "You can't do this to us," Leo protested. "I can," the guard said, "and I will. Or I can call the Paradise Valley PD. Your choice." That shut them up. I watched as the security guard escorted them down the hall, my mother stumbling in her party heels from the night before, my brother with his shoulders slumped in defeat. Just before he turned the corner, Leo looked back. His eyes found the peephole. He knew I was watching. "You'll regret this, Maya," he shouted down the empty hall. "You are dead to us. You'll regret this." The hallway was empty. It was quiet. I leaned my forehead against the cool wood of the door. I put my mouth right next to the metal chain lock. I whispered the words. Just for myself, I already did. For 30 years. I flew back to New York the next morning. As the plane took off from the Phoenix airport, I watched the brown, dry mountains of Arizona disappear below. That desert was their world. A place of sprawling houses, unnaturally green golf courses, and deep, cold shadows. I was glad to be leaving it behind. I landed at JFK. It was a gray, cold day. The wind off the river was sharp, but I loved it. It felt real. I took a cab to my small one-bedroom apartment, the one I had worked so hard for. I walked in and locked the door behind me. My mail was in a pile on the floor. Bills, junk mail, and a single plain white envelope. It had no return address, but I recognized the handwriting instantly. It was from Uncle Ben. I put my bag down and sat at my kitchen counter, looking at the envelope. It felt surprisingly heavy. I tore it open. There was no letter. There was no card. There was just a small, black plastic thumb drive, the kind you get as a giveaway at a conference. My heart began to beat faster. This wasn't a birthday card. This was something else entirely. I was almost afraid to look. I walked to my desk, turned on my laptop, and slid the thumb drive into the USB port. A window popped up. There was a single file on it. It was an audio file named 4maya.mp3. I put on my headphones and clicked play. At first, there was just static. Then I heard a chair scrape across a tile floor. Then Uncle Ben's voice, low and gravelly, as if he were speaking directly into the microphone. "Kid," he said, "you did what needed doing. Don't you let anyone tell you different." I closed my eyes. I didn't realize how much I needed to hear those words. "After you left," he continued, "things got loud. Your father called me. He was in a full-blown panic. Asked me to come over to talk some sense into your mother. So I did. I went over there, and I happened to have my phone in my pocket, with the recorder on." His voice stopped. The static returned, and then I heard them. "She's a sociopath." It was my mother's voice, high and reedy. "Who does that? Who freezes their own family's money after everything we've done for her, after we raised her? Helen, please, my father's voice, small and weak. Maybe we should just call her, apologize. Apologize? Leo's voice cut in, dripping with disgust. Apologize for what? For her making a scene at our party? Dad, she's the one who should be apologizing. She stole my money, Leo was shouting now. The investor money, she stole it. It was in her name, son, my father said quietly. That's just paperwork, Leo yelled. It was my company. She was just supposed to be the responsible one, the backup. She's jealous. She's just jealous that I'm successful and she's a 30-year-old analyst with no life. I winced. The word jealous hit me like a physical slap, even in my own apartment thousands of miles away. We have to get that money back, my mother said. Her voice was cold now. All the fake panicked hysterics were gone. This was the real her. This was the voice I knew. She'll crack, Leo said, his voice full of confidence. She's weak, Mom. She always has been. She needs us. She needs to feel like part of a family. Give it a week, 2 tops. She'll feel guilty. She'll come crawling back, begging us to forgive her. And when she does, my mother asked. When she does, Leo said, we take her name off the business account, but we keep her on the joint one. We raise her family contribution. And we tell her if she ever pulls a stunt like this again, she is out. For good. There was a pause. What about her apartment? My father asked. What about it? My mother said dismissively. She can't afford that place and support us. She'll have to move home. She can work from her old bedroom. They were planning my future. They weren't sad that I was gone. They weren't sorry for what they did. They were just angry that their bank had closed, and they were waiting. They were waiting for me to be weak. They were waiting for me to come back and apologize for not letting them use me anymore. My stomach churned. They were carving up my life like it was already theirs to divide. The recording of my family faded out. Then Uncle Ben's voice came back, clear and strong. They still talk about you like you're a wallet, not a person, he said. They're not sorry, kid. They're just sorry you changed the password. You did the right thing. Don't you ever go back. Protect your assets. Always. There was a soft click. The audio file ended. My apartment was silent. I took off my headphones. I was shaking. I had been feeling a small, tiny, stupid seed of guilt. I had been wondering if maybe I had gone too far. I had been wondering if I should call them. That thumb drive was a gift. It was proof. It was the permission I needed to stop feeling guilty and to start being smart. I didn't delete the file. I saved it. I backed it up to the cloud. I renamed the new file Evidence. Tears were streaming down my face, but I wasn't sad. I wasn't hurt. For the first time in my life, I felt truly free. It was a full, total, and complete release. They had shown me exactly who they were, and I finally believed them. Weeks turned into a month. The silence from my family was total. It was a new kind of silence. It wasn't the old, empty silence where I would wait anxiously for them to call. This was a hard, angry, waiting silence. I knew they were waiting for me to crack, just as Leo had predicted. I did not crack. I went to work. I was good at my job. I looked at spreadsheets. I analyzed markets. Numbers were safe. Numbers were honest. A negative number was just a negative number. It didn't pretend to be a positive one. It didn't tell you it loved you and then steal your money. I paid my bills. I cooked dinner for myself. I went to the gym. I met Chloe for drinks. For the first time, my life was simply my own. Then one night, the silence shattered. It was 3:17 a.m. My phone buzzed on my nightstand, the vibration so loud in the quiet room that it startled me awake. I kept my ringer on, a work habit. I had to be available for the Asian markets, but this wasn't a work alert. The screen lit up. It was a Zelle request from Helen Evans. Amount $2,600. Memo, emergency, hotel extension, house pipe burst. Please, Maya, we have nowhere to go. Freezing. My heart leaped into my throat. The old reflex, the old panic. They're homeless. It's my fault, they're freezing. My hand was shaking. I almost pressed approve. I almost did it. She'll crack. She's weak. I stopped. I took a deep breath. I sat up in bed and turned on my lamp. Okay, Maya, I whispered to the empty room. Be an analyst. Analyze this. 3:17 a.m. A classic time for a panic-based decision. They wanted me sleepy and scared. $2,600. A very specific number. Not $2,000, not $3,000. $2,600. It sounded real. Almost too real. Hotel extension. Pipe burst. It was a good story, but I was a 30-year-old woman, not a 12-year-old girl. I looked at the request again. There was an attachment, a photo. I tapped on it, opening the picture to full screen. It was a dark, blurry picture of a kitchen floor that looked like my parents' kitchen. There was water pooled on the tile. A few towels were thrown on the ground. It looked convincing. But I'm an analyst. I always look at the details. I downloaded the image to my laptop. I opened it and zoomed in. The water was very shallow, and it was very clean. It was pooled near the sliding glass door to the patio. I zoomed in more and more, and then I saw it. In the faint reflection on the chrome handle of the dishwasher, I could see my mother's silhouette. She was holding up her phone, and right next to her, I could see the distinct green coil of the garden hose snaking in from the patio. There was no burst pipe. My mother was standing in her kitchen in the middle of the night, spraying the floor with a garden hose. She had manufactured a fake emergency to try and scam $2,600 from her own daughter. I felt a new emotion rise up in me. It wasn't sadness, it wasn't hurt, it was rage. A cold, clean, perfect rage. This was a game to them. They thought I was an idiot. Okay, I thought, let's play. I opened my Zelle app. I declined the request for $2,600. Then I started a new transaction. Send to Helen Evans. Amount, $50. I thought for a long moment about the memo line. Then I typed it. For the ribeye steak, max 8. I pressed send. I put my phone back on the nightstand. I knew what was coming. I went to the kitchen and made myself a cup of tea. I watched the black sky over the East River start to turn a soft, bruised gray. My phone started to vibrate on the nightstand. It didn't ring. I had silenced their numbers long ago, but the screen lit up and lit up and lit up. I picked it up. 14 missed calls. 32 new text messages. I opened the first text from my mother. You ungrateful bitch. The second, how dare you? The third, $50? Is this some kind of sick joke? I scrolled, a text from Leo. You're a sociopath. You are going to pay for this. Enjoy your money. You're going to die alone. A text from my father. Maya, please. Your mother is very upset. This isn't right. Call us. They weren't freezing in a hotel. They were all at home. They were all wide awake. And they were all furious that their scam hadn't worked. The $50 was the insult. It was me saying, I know. I see you. I didn't delete the messages. I took screenshots of every single one. I went to my laptop, opened the folder named Evidence, and saved all the new screenshots. I went back to bed. I turned my phone completely off. I slept better than I had in years. After the $50 incident, the silence that followed was different. It wasn't an angry, waiting silence. It was a dead silence. They didn't call. They didn't text. They didn't send any more Zelle requests. This was more frightening. I knew them. This was the plotting silence. I went on with my life. I told Chloe what happened. Good, she said. You beat them at their own game. But be careful, Maya. They're not going to stop. They aren't reasonable people. You're dealing with cornered rats, and cornered rats bite. She was right. A week later, I was at my desk at work, finishing up a report on market futures, when an email popped up in my personal inbox. Subject, Credit Monitoring Alert New Inquiry. I frowned. As a financial analyst, I have alerts on everything. My credit is frozen solid. It's a standard precaution. No one should be able to make an inquiry. I logged into my credit monitoring service. My heart stopped. New account opened, Capital One Signature Visa. Date opened 4 days ago. I couldn't breathe. My credit was frozen. How? Unless the person applying had every piece of my information. My full name, my date of birth, my social security number, my mother's maiden name, my high school mascot, Leo. My hands were shaking as I picked up my phone and called the number on the back of my own credit card. I got through to the fraud department. "Hello," I said, my voice thin. "My name is Maya Evans. I'm calling about an account that I did not open." "Yes, Ms. Evans." The man's voice was calm. "I see a new signature visa. You're saying you didn't apply for this?" "No, I did not." "Okay, let's look at the account." "Yes, it was opened 4 days ago. We also have a record of you calling to unfreeze your credit." I never called. It was someone who passed all security verification, ma'am. Where was the card sent?" "It was expedited," he said. 1-day shipping to an address in Paradise Valley, Arizona." I closed my eyes. "Are there charges?" "Yes, ma'am." "There are several." I waited. "There is a charge for $5,200 at the Desert Diamond Casino. What else? And a charge for $4,600 at Proline Electronics. $9,800 in 4 days. Leo didn't just use me. He didn't just borrow. He stole. He impersonated me. He committed a felony. This was no longer family drama. This was a crime. I hung up with the bank. They froze the new card and started the fraud investigation. I called my one ally. "Chloe," I whispered. I was in an empty conference room at work. I was hiding. He did it. He stole my identity. Chloe's voice was not soft. It was not, "I'm sorry." It was cold steel. "Okay, we're done. This is the line, he just crossed it. This is not a family disagreement anymore. This is a federal crime. What do I do?" I was crying now. "You leave work," she commanded. "Go home, grab your laptop, grab the folder named Evidence. I am meeting you, and we are not going to my office. We are going to the police." The police station was gray and smelled of old coffee and bleach. I felt sick to my stomach. I was a 30-year-old financial analyst sitting in a police station to file a report against my own brother. Chloe held my arm. "You are the victim, Maya. Remember that." We sat down with a detective. His name was Diaz. He looked tired. "Family stuff?" He sighed as I began my story. "It's always the worst." I nodded. But I wasn't just a crying victim. I was an organized victim. I opened my laptop. "Here's the credit monitoring alert," I said. "Here is the new credit card account. Here's the shipping address. Here is the fraud report number from Capital One." "Okay," he said, typing. "Identity theft." "And here," I said, "is a folder I've been keeping." I showed him the screenshots of the $50 Zelle request. I showed him the 32 threatening text messages. I told him about the motel incident. Then I plugged in my headphones and handed them to him. "And here," I said, "is an audio file. I need you to listen to this." I watched his face as he listened to Uncle Ben's recording. I saw his eyebrows go up when he heard my mother's cold, calculating plan. I saw his jaw tighten when he heard Leo say, "She's weak. She'll crack." He took off the headphones and looked at me for a long moment. "Ms. Evans," he said. His tone changed. "This isn't family stuff. This is identity theft, wire fraud, and a pattern of harassment." Chloe spoke up. "We need a restraining order, an order of protection, against Leo Evans and Helen Evans. We were there for 3 hours. I filed the identity theft report. I filed the harassment report. We went to a different office in the same building, and I filled out the paperwork for the restraining order. I listed everything: the motel, the threats, the stolen identity. When we finally walked out, the sun was setting. I felt hollowed out. "I just did it," I whispered. "I just called the police on my family." Chloe put her arm around my shoulders. No, Maya. You called the police on the people who stole from you and threatened you. He stopped being your brother the moment he saw you as a credit score. My phone rang a few days later. It was Detective Diaz. Ms. Evans, he said, just giving you an update. The order of protection has been served. To both of them. We also paid your brother a visit. Spoke to him about the fraud charges. Oh, I said. He wasn't happy, but the evidence is pretty strong. He used your name. Now he'll have to answer for it under his own. I hung up. A line had been crossed. He had put my name on a legal document. Now his name was on one. A police report. The restraining order was a wall. The police report was a bomb. I didn't have to do anything else. The system, the rules I had always believed in, they began to work. Leo's world fell apart. It wasn't just the fraud case. The investors I had emailed, the ones who had terminated his funding, they talked. In the small, insular world of tech startups and venture capital, reputation is everything. Leo Evans was now toxic. He was the guy who built his company on his sister's name and then stole her identity when she cut him off. No one would touch him. He lost his consulting job. He had to hire a lawyer. Lawyers are very, very expensive. And, of course, I was no longer paying the mortgage on the Paradise Valley house. The calls didn't come to me. They couldn't. The order of protection was a legal shield. So the calls went to Uncle Ben. He called me one evening. "Just so you know, kid," he said, his voice flat. "Know what? The bank. It's taking the house. Foreclosure." I waited. I waited for the guilt, for that crushing, awful feeling that I had done this. It didn't come. I just felt tired. "Okay," I said. "Your mother?" "She's been calling me," Ben continued. "Non-stop. Crying, screaming, saying I'm the man of the family now, that I need to talk sense into you, to make you stop all this. What did you say?" I told her sense was a two-way street, and her side of the road had been closed for 30 years. Then I blocked her number. I almost smiled. "Thank you, Uncle Ben." "Don't thank me," he said. "I'm just cleaning up old messes. You take care, kid." A month later, I had to fly to Phoenix for a work conference. I hadn't been back to Arizona since that night. My presentation went well. My bosses were happy. My new, non-family life was going well. I had an hour to kill before my flight home. I was in my rental car. I don't know why I did it. It was like a magnet was pulling me. I drove. I drove down those familiar, perfect streets. I drove to my old street, the street I grew up on. I pulled up across the road from the house. I didn't get out. I just looked. It was awful. The once perfect lawn was brown and dead. The beautiful bougainvillea my mother had loved were all dead, just brown, brittle sticks. The windows were dark, and hammered into the middle of the dead lawn was a bright red sign. It had one word on it: auction. The house looked small. It looked weak. All the power it once held over me, all the fear I had of that patio, all the nights I had cried in my old bedroom, it was all gone. It was just a building, a box made of stucco and wood. It was the place where they had everything: a beautiful home, a successful son, a daughter who paid all their bills. They had everything they could possibly want, except her restraint. I put the car in drive and started to pull away, but then I stopped. I parked the car at the end of the block, got out, and slung my work bag over my shoulder. I lifted my head high, and I walked. I walked right past the dead lawn. I walked past the auction sign. I walked past the patio where Leo had told me I wasn't real family. I walked past the front door where I was never truly welcome. I didn't stop. I didn't even slow down. I just kept walking, my sensible work heels clicking on the pavement. I walked all the way to the end of the street. They hadn't lost their house. They had lost my restraint. And that, it turned out, was the one thing that had been holding their entire world together. Months passed. The auction happened. The house was sold. The court case with Leo ended. It wasn't dramatic. He took a plea deal, pleading guilty to identity theft. He got probation and was ordered to pay restitution. I knew I would never see a single dollar of that $9,800. It didn't matter. It was never about the money. It was about the public record. His name was in the system as a criminal. My name was in the system as the victim. The truth was finally written down in black and white. I came home from work one night. It was winter in New York and snow was blowing sideways. There was a small box in front of my door. It was from Uncle Ben. It was heavy. I brought it inside and cut the packing tape. Inside, wrapped in an old, clean dish towel, was something metal. I unwrapped it. My breath caught in my throat. It was Max's dog bowl. It was a heavy, stainless steel bowl, the kind that lasts forever. It was scratched and dull, but it was immaculately clean. This was the bowl where my mother had scraped my steak, the bowl that had held the $700 a month gourmet meat. It was the symbol of every single insult, the proof that I was, in their eyes, less than the dog. I looked back in the box. There was a note in Ben's familiar scrawl. "Kid," it said, "he won't be needing this anymore. Your parents moved into a small apartment. No dogs allowed. They gave Max away. I found this when I was cleaning out the garage. Thought you should have the last piece." I felt a sharp, sudden, awful sadness. Not for my parents, for Max. He was a good dog. He was the only one who had seemed genuinely happy to see me that night. And when he was no longer useful, when they couldn't afford his upkeep, they just gave him away, just like me. I held the cold, heavy bowl in my hands. I could throw it away. I could take a hammer to it, but I didn't. It was the last piece. It was the end. I walked to my hall closet. In the back, on a top shelf, I have a drawer where I keep old winter scarves. I traced the cold metal edge of the bowl with my finger. I placed it in the drawer underneath the scarves. I wasn't keeping it as a trophy. I was keeping it as a reminder, a symbol of every insult I had outgrown, a symbol of what happens when you feed a person's dignity to the dog. I closed the drawer. That night, my apartment was very quiet, but it was a new kind of quiet. Before, the silence from my family had felt empty. It was the silence of being ignored, the silence of waiting for a call that never came. Now, this silence was earned. It was full. It was the sound of my own life unfolding. It was the sound of no drama, no 3 a.m. Zelle requests, no credit alerts, no screaming, no fighting. It was just peace. I sat on my sofa and looked out my window at the New York skyline, glowing silver and white against the dark sky. The snow was falling softly. It was my city. It was my home. I opened my journal. I had started writing in one recently. I didn't write about them. I didn't write about the bowl, or the house, or the money. I wrote just 3 lines, my new financial statement. Portfolio balanced. Position 0. No joint anything. My portfolio was balanced. I had taken the toxic, high-risk assets. My family and I had divested. I had cut the liability. My position was 0. I was not in their debt, and they were not in mine. I wasn't in the red. I wasn't in the black. I was just me, and no joint anything. My name was only on my things now. My apartment, my bank account, my life. No co-signers. No one else had a key. The silence from my family on the other side of the country finally felt earned. It wasn't an absence, it was a presence. It was the space I finally had to live. I closed the journal. The chapter was over. End of story.